Good morning. Well, before we take up today's topic, I like to thank you, the readers, the listeners, that at least your attention and your appreciation had its effect. You remember when we talked of bottling issues? Within 3 hours, Kathleen Wynne directed that the policy be changed and reconsidered. And I am happy to inform you that regarding our comments on the key peacekeeping forces, the Defense Minister yesterday clarified, at least his office did, that now they are going to send peacekeeping forces to Colombia even. That doesn't meet the complete argument that I advanced, because I'm against sending the troops anywhere, whether it's Africa or Colombia. But at least 50% of my comments, they have accepted the validity, and now they are sending the troops to Colombia as well. And now let's come to the topic of the day, which is equally disconcerting, equally worrying. Liberals are too liberals. I would not mind if they were liberals as far as the social norms are concerned. But when their liberals are too liberal with the money, the taxpayer money, that does call for certain pain and at the same time a scrutiny of what they are doing. I'm sure you won't be shocked. How you would be? I was. When I came to know that Trudeau's office has 49 staffers who were relocated to Ottawa when he took office. Fair enough. You always have your own staff. But they're shifting. Their moving expenses came to $1.1 million. Imagine. 49 people moving and the expenses come to $1.1 million. And the breakup is equally astounding. The housing cost has come to $373,000. The hotel expenses have come to $52,000. But $685,000 are simply unaccounted, unexplained. Now, when we go into the nitty-gritty, we find that for moving 4 persons, the cost was $220,000. And for moving 1 person, it was $129,000. Imagine, why should this cost be $100,000 plus for moving 1 person? Does it happen anywhere? You have been moving all your life, and even moving across the continents doesn't cost that much. And moving a few towns, does it cost $1.1 billion? The second in this category is Navdeep Bains. He moved 1 person and the cost is $150,000. And then comes Stephen Dion, $147,000. Now, I would not object to the moving expenses of the people. What I object is to this exorbitant cost, which is beyond all imagination. Now, Aristotle had long back said that the thing to be acceptable should be possible and probable. Now, these expenses, if we look at them, They are definitely possible. They have been spent. But they are not probable. They have not been spent precisely about what they have been talked about. They are not only the moving expenses. There is something more. Maybe, again I'm saying maybe I have no proof of that. There has been some draining out of funds. I'm not blaming the ministers and the Prime Minister, no. But as it's their staff and the office has not been able to explain the facts, it is their responsibility. It's a bounden responsibility of any government to be transparent. But is the government transparent when it hides the facts? Is it transparent when it plays ducks and drakes with the people's money? You see, Caesar's wife is supposed to be above suspicion. But here it's not only the Caesar's wife, but the Caesar himself who is not above the suspicion. There's a needle of suspicion that points at some wrongdoing. I do not blame an individual, but I do blame the system and I do blame the main players because they have not been very open, they have not been very transparent. And why is it so? As I said yesterday, most of the expenses have been categorized as non-auditable, which is the crux of the situation. You take away an item from the scrutiny and the result would be what happens in South Asia, what happens in Nigeria. And we blame those countries. Do we look at ourselves? Right from sponsorship scandal to the hydro scandal, the gas plant scandal, and now these scandals which are coming every day. What are we doing? Where are we heading? Is the epidemic of corruption catching up with Canada? C for corruption, C for Canada? I hope not. I trust not. But then the responsibility lies with the government. Another thing, and that is, why cannot the government, some or the other, be open? Now in this connection, another thing happened very serious, and that is the chief statistician resigned a few days back. And he resigned because he said that the new Liberal government is forcing him to adopt a system which he doesn't like. StatScan figures are supposed to be very honest, and we appreciate that. But here, StatScan was being forced to adopt a software which would not have been in the best interest of the organization and its acceptability. The question arises, why this fact was being forced down the throats of StatScan? The question arises, why the independence of the major institutions is being compromised? The suspicious minds would say that the government has something to hide. I would say the government is not above board. Being above board is the most important thing. And you see, when not being above board is coupled with hypocrisy, this is still worse. This very party was critical of Stephen Harper for not being above board. And they are following the same with a vengeance. If I look at the expenses incurred by the minister on limousines, if I look at the money spent on the so-called infrastructure deals which we had talked about, and now the shifting of the expenses, and I'm not talking of the nanny gate, which was also a major issue. I'm not talking of the in-laws of Justin Trudeau traveling in the government plane, which was also an issue. These things go on accumulating. How long would the taxpayer be fleeced? That's the question. And in how many ways would the taxpayer be fleeced? There's always a limit to the endurance. There's always a limit beyond which passive resistance and passive acceptance become intolerable. I hope the government wakes up before it becomes intolerable. It already is intolerable. If in the last 1 year, if we take a stock of the whole situation, we'll find that only the financial point of view, there must have been more than a score of cases where there was some clouding of the facts, where the facts were not revealed or they were revealed partially. The latest ones about this, the shifting expenses, the moving expenses, and especially the unexplained portion in these expenses, is compounding the cause and the effect of that issue, that is the fiduciary responsibility. You see, for any government, financial responsibility is of extreme importance. And when any government abdicates that responsibility, then that is a sure sign of impending exploitation of the people. Dalton McGuinty's gas plants, Kathleen Wynne's hydro, pension funds, political fundraisings, Nannygate, taking of the in-laws, shifting expenses, limousine expenses, traveling expenses, 26 bottles of wine in one night by the Prime Minister's office in the flight. The list goes on and on. Sometimes one feels absolutely exhausted. That is there any benefit of cribbing when the people at the helm are deaf and dumb? Yes, there is. As I gave you just two examples at the beginning, at least in two cases, a partial retribution was there. Not a full retribution, but a partial retribution. And one hopes that with a constant hammering and constant exposure, there would be some stirring of the soul, some soul searching, some conscious pricking would be there, and maybe the situation might be better. Maybe the things might change for the better. I don't know whether it's hoping against hope or not. But I, as a conscious keeper of the nation, a man who has no desires otherwise, shall keep on doing my job of pricking the conscience, are trying to awaken conscience of those people who are doing wrong and of you who are tolerating wrong things. till the wrongs stop being perpetrated, till the taxpayer stops being persecuted. I am sure you would agree with me that this is a high time that we let the Canadian values of honesty and transparency take over before it's too late, before Canada and Cameroons are bracketed together as the lowest rung of corrupt countries. Thank you.